infatuated, and they will be fettered, and then contemplating on them. Then the 5 aggregates of clinging are increased for oneself in the future, and one's craving that brings delight here, delight there, and repeat it again and again. Yayang tanna pono bhavika nandi raga sahagata. Tatra tatra abhinandini. This sentence is very important to remember if you can. Ya ayang tanna, this craving. Pono bhavika, repeating again and again. With nandi raga, delight and clinging. Raga is attachment or cling or glue to something. Raga sata. Tatra tatra vinandini, delight here and delight there. Delight here, this moment, delight there, next moment. Every moment one has this misunderstanding, not understanding these 5 things, that is I, form, consciousness, contact, and sensation of feeling that. If one does not understand them exactly as they are, this happens. When we say understand them as they are, we also call it yatha bhuta jnana darsana, seeing things as they really are. Whenever we use this term, there are 2 words we have to remember. Things as they really are. As they really are is one, and thing is another. These 2 sections of this sentence we must understand correctly. What are the things? Things are these 5 things. In each case, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. In these 6, depending on these 6, other 5 arise. The form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought. The thought and contemplating the thought. These 5 arises depending on these 6 senses. And they are called the things. Things. 6 senses, they are respective objects, consciousness, contact, and feeling. From these 6 things, 5 things arise. And these are called the things. Things. Sometimes sometimes people can be confused with the statement, seeing things as they really are. Everywhere in the Buddha's teachings, things means these 6 and those 5 things. As they really are is the next word, next phrase. As they really are means as they change, because they are really are changing. They don't stay even fraction of a second the same. There is no, we call something rising, falling, and alternating what is present. That is the nature of sankhara. Buddha defined it in Samyutta Nikaya. I mentioned it earlier, I just want to remind you, because we learn so many things, it is possible, therefore, for people to forget what they have learned earlier. So for our own deepening of our understanding of Dhamma, we have to remind ourselves what we have learned earlier. They are always, the sankharas have three characteristics. Sankharas have three characteristics. Not only anicca, dukkha, anatta, but in addition to these three, there are three other things that also are there in every sankhara, any sankhara. To know what something, what sankhara is, we must know these three things. What are the three things? In addition to anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent and suffering and non-self, in addition, there are three other things. What are they? Uppado panyayati, vayo panyayati, thitasanya tattang panyayati. Rising is discernible, falling is discernible. What is called present also is altering discernible. Rising is discernible, altering is discernible, and passing away is discernible. So we can see these three stages. And therefore, there is not one single moment of static state or simple moment of fixed moment. No fixed moment. Not seeing fixed moment, things are always changing. That is the nature of conditioned things. And therefore, those 5 things we mentioned and 6 senses we mentioned are all in the state of flux all the time. Whenever they arise, they will reach the peak and then alter. Peak is altering peak, not static fixed peak, and then pass away. So seeing them exactly like this is called seeing things as they really are. We must remember that always, whenever we hear the word see things, yatha bhuta jnana darsana, seeing things as they really are, Bhuta means that already they are continuously existing, repeating. Sankara is not something fixed. Whether they are animate or inanimate, we are referring to animate or our own sankharas. Other sankharas have the same 3 characteristics. These 3 characteristics are universally true. Nobody can refute them, nobody can deny, nobody can reject and say we know something else about. They may know many things about Sankara, but these 3 things are the common feature or characteristics of Sankara. As we don't see these 3 things in Sankara, with all these 5 and 6, then we will be delighted in, then desire arises, yayang tanna, this craving arises, this repeat again and again, with delight here, delight there, clinging here and delight, clinging there and delight, and so forth. This is how this craving continues in existence in samsara. Okay, with this beginning, I will continue this talk after our meditation. I want to make an announcement. Announcement is from tomorrow onward, we will start our meditation at exactly at 10 o'clock, and then we continue our meditation till 10:30. And then 10:30, I will start the talk, the entire solid half an hour. I give the talk instead of breaking into 2 first 10 minutes and then 20 minutes when I go to the next 10 minutes, you might forget the first 10 minutes. And so I hope if I continue the talk from say 10:30 and without any break, then uh, that you might remember better. It is this friend of mine who reminded me, Brian, because he is listening very carefully, sitting next to me. And he himself might have noticed something to improve. So this is his improvement. I accept it, and we all like it, and we continue like this. Let us do our meditation.
So just to be clear, we're starting at 10 a.m., not 9:50 going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Next thing.
No. Metta.
Oops. Lack of mindfulness.
Yeah. Okay. Now let us begin our metta meditation. You can see the screen. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. This, friend, is our very earnest wish as we remind everybody every day. We want to wish that all those who are suffering from this COVID-19, they are scattered all over the world. We see 188 countries. Even the tiniest country, at least there are few suffering from this COVID-19. Everywhere, every country. From the South Pole to North Pole, from the East to West, all are in pain and suffering. And therefore, this is the best opportunity for us to reach out to them. Although we are here, we want to reach them partly through this device called Zoom, and partly with our very sincere heart, we want to reach them and express our sincere metta, compassion, understanding, and wish them to be relieved from suffering, pain, and despair. Also, there are many thousands of them passed away. Their relatives and friends also suffer by losing their dear ones, relatives, and friends. We want them to be free from that grief and sorrow, lamentation, and pain. We want to wish those who are trying to find some vaccine, pills, some kind of chemical to combat, to destroy, overcome this virus for the benefit of not only those who are suffering, but those who are impending may, even in future, they may, they already have fear to go out, meet people, and do anything together as they used to do in the past. They have fear. And this medicine or vaccine would be a hope that this virus will be vanished, destroyed, and people be free to move around to do their things. And maybe those who are in treating people as doctors and nurses and their helpers, chemists, physicists, and so forth, may they also be healthy, peaceful, and happy to continue their work. And those who are making decisions for all of us to follow for the benefit of everybody, be very compassionate, kind, and insightful, and above all, may they have wisdom to understand what is going on. With this, let us continue our practice. We breathe in, focusing our entire attention on our breath without verbalizing or conceptualizing, and notice the breath touching the rims of your nostrils and expanding your chest area and abdominal area. As you breathe out, you may notice the lower abdomen contract, chest area contract, and the breath leaving the nostrils. And in between inhaling and exhaling, there is a very brief pause. Make note of it without using word. And then you feel the breath, you have perception, you have intention, attention, and consciousness. And they all change as you breathe in and breathe out. What you experience when you breathe in is no longer when you breathe out. The feeling you have when you breathe in, perception, thought or intention, attention, and consciousness will disappear as you breathe out. So this is what is happening. This is the nature of conditioned things or sankhara, as I mentioned earlier. They keep moving, changing and changing and changing, only from your undivided attention, mindful attention, concentrated attention, you can see this happening. And when this happens, your breath becomes calm and relaxed, body becomes calm and relaxed, mind becomes calm and relaxed, because there is nothing special, nothing to excite. All of them have the same characteristics, all of them happen the same way, rising and falling and alternating and changing all the time. No secret. This is the reality. Don't try to be afraid of seeing impermanence or changes, which you are going through all the time anyway. When this happens and you are comfortable, then you can let go of whatever comes to your mind, particularly greed, hatred, and delusion. When you let go, your mind becomes very calm, more peaceful, and then arises a moment of metta when the greed, anger, or resentment fades away, and then metta will take root. Then compassion arises. When these three happens, you will see your joy, happiness, concentration arise. because there is no greed, no hatred, no sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry or doubt. Especially you don't have doubt because you see what is happening to you. This is what is called Pachattam Veditabba Vinyohi. Every wise individual can see this truth. This is the nature of Dhamma. We all can experience it without any reservation or condition. And experiencing this, let us continue our meditation. dukkha patta ca nidukkha bhaya patta ca nibbhaya soka patta ca nissoka hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. Friends, let me continue this talk, and at the end of all this, we can continue our metta for, for all beings. I mentioned in my beginning little talk that when one does not see things as they really are, all physical pain, mental pain, physical sorrow, mental sorrow, and the fever, physical fever, mental fever, and all these negative things when arise, and the person will be carried away with his greed that will bring delight here and delight there, cling here, cling there. Now, this happens when one does not see things as they really are. Things means the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought. This, when one does not see all this as they are. Only when one sees them as they are, then what happens? Then there is no physical pain, physical suffering, there's no mental suffering, there is no physical fever, mental fever, and sorrow, lamentation, and all these negative things will not arise in him. Instead, he is abide uninfatuated by lust, unfettered, infatuated, unflamed, and contemplating danger. When one sees things exactly as they are, only then person begins to see the danger. Danger. Then the five aggregates of clinging or affected by clinging, uh, and that clinging will diminish for his future of existence. Diminish, not increase. When he sees the danger, he or she sees the clinging, stop clinging, and then future aggregates will, the possibility of having future aggregates will diminish. And then the, the craving, which delights here, delights there, cling to this, cling to that, and so forth, also diminish. Uh, then and then he learned to abandon them. Then one's bodily and mental trouble are abandoned. One's bodily and mental torments are abandoned. One's bodily and mental fever are abandoned. One's experience bodily and mental pleasure. When this fever and this clinging abandoned in the mind as they happen, I mentioned we must always remember we are talking about dependent origination, and we must see them happening as they happen, and that is the time the person remains to be mindful, because the person sees things as they really are. It is impossible for such a person not to let go of greed, because the person sees the danger of greed, and therefore who wants to fall into danger? Who wants to fall into a well where there are sort of snakes and tigers opening their mouth and waiting to swallow you? Who wants to jump into that? So when you see the danger, by all means you avoid it. This is one of the factors of overcoming asava. In Sabbasava Sutta, you heard that one of the method of overcoming them is avoiding. So one who sees things as they really are and sees the danger, that person avoids that. Then that is uh, the person really right view. What else can you have? When you see the danger, you see things as they really are, you see the danger, then you avoid it, and that you will see happening in your meditation. Anytime, during meditation, day or night, and walking, sitting, standing, lying down, even washing dishes and so on, wherever this you see happening, then that is your right view or right understanding, samadhi. When that samadhi arises, then uh, you have an intention to let go of this danger, intention not to fall into the danger, intention to continue your vision, continue seeing things as they are. That is your right intention. Uh, when you have that right intention, you just simply don't idle your time. You make effort. You make effort to make it happen again and again and again and again. When you have right effort, then you have right mindfulness. The mindfulness of impermanence, mindfulness of the conditions of what you call characteristic of all conditioned things, that is rising discernible, altering discernible, and passing away discernible. And that is what you see when you are paying mindful attention. Yoniso manasikara, uh, reflection with knowing the root of problems. Root of problem is not seeing things as they really are, with greed, hatred, and so forth. Uh, Not seeing them is unmindful reflection. When you see them exactly as they are, that is your right mindfulness or right attention. Yoniso manasikara. When you have this, there is, as we repeat every day in our short meditation, that when this happens, uh, you see things as they are, there is nothing to get excited, because they all are happening. You have, at that time, your hindrances subside, uh, joy, happiness, metta, compassion arises, and then you gain concentration. And that concentration is right concentration. Now, you see how your understanding intention, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, all lined up in that order, and they all happen in that order. And your uh, right speech, right action, right livelihood has already been perfected before you come to this understanding, because with uh, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, you cannot gain right concentration. You don't make right effort. And therefore, these three things are already perfected. Then the noble eightfold path is complete in this way, and it becomes to perfection. Then, when this noble eightfold path is developed, cultivated, and then all other factors of enlightenment arise. How many factors of enlightenment? There are 37 factors of enlightenment. 37. Four, uh, four foundations of mindfulness. Uh, Four foundations of mindfulness is in the mindfulness category in the Noble Eightfold Path. So that will be completed. Then for right effort will be developed. That is the effort we make in right mind, right, what do you call it, in the Noble Eightfold Path, the padhana, samma padhana. Then four spiritual faculties, five spiritual faculties, five spiritual powers, and seven factors of enlightenment. Uh, all these will be developed when you practice these two. In this way, Buddha said in Mahasalayatanika Sutta, in this way, one who practices this in this manner will develop both serenity and insight together. These two things, serenity and insight, occur in him yog evenly together. This is called samatha vipassana yuganad. Samatha vipassana yuganad. I think it is very important to remember what you began to practice is trying to see sankharas as they really are. During your meditation, this is what we repeat every day. Without using word, concept, theories, ideas, just pay attention to your experiences, beginning with the breath. As you do so, don't deviate from this practice, thinking, oh, I feel I'm floating, I can see the other world, I can see previous lives, I can see where I will be reborn, I can read other thoughts, and so forth. Don't try to get involved in this kind of jargon of thoughts, but simply stay on the course to see things as they happen and as they really are. See things as they really are. Then you gain, of course, in order to come to that level, you have to have previously you have to have a discipline that's called sila. In that discipline, you have right speech, right action, right livelihood. When these all when you practice all these, then you see things as they really are. Then you will not cling to anything, and you will see this greed will not take you here and there, which make you delight here and delight there and so forth. That will not happen. Then your mind is not trying to perpetuate your repetition of birth and death, and do not cling to the aggregates. So, because you see the things as they really are, they are floating, changing, fluxing, moving, appearing, disappearing all the time. When you see this, that seeing as they are is a right view, right view. Seeing them as they really happen is your right view or right understanding. And then flows the rest. Then you think, right intention to let go, intention to uh, uh, develop metta, intention to develop compassion. These are things you repeat every day. When you have this intention, you uh, make effort. You make effort to perpetuate them because you see something very wholesome, very wonderful, very pleasant happening. So how can you let it go? You let go of unpleasant things. Now, when wholesome things arise, you want to cultivate it, develop it. So you make right effort. And then now you have right view, right intention, and right effort. And then mindfulness naturally takes root. All alone you are seeing things as they really are. That's the right view. And that would lead you to develop your mindfulness. Seeing things as they really are is the key to mindfulness. That is why it is called vipassana, seeing things in a very special way. This is not the way normally you will see things, but in this case, this is the way you see. And when you see this, that is a right view, right understanding, and right mindfulness. And then, when all these things are in balance, then you gain right concentration. When you gain right concentration, now your mindfulness on one hand has developed. Now you got concentration. So these two factors, right mindfulness, right concentration, work together in unison. That is called yuga nadda. Yuga means two, nadda means joining. Now concentration and mindfulness join together. Shake hand. Therefore, you always must remember mindfulness and concentration are not two separate things in Buddha's teaching. These both work together, especially in this way in the Noble Eightfold Path. Then, when this happens exactly as they are, uh, you then you fully understand by direct knowledge those things that you should be fully understood by direct knowledge. This is very important. We will explain these things. When you develop this and come to this level, develop mindfulness and concentration, then you will see, you will have understanding, you will know what should be known by direct knowledge. We will discuss this later. And you will abandon by direct knowledge those things that you will abandon. And you will develop by direct knowledge those things that should be developed by direct knowledge. And you will realize by direct knowledge those things that should be realized by direct knowledge. Now, what are they? And what are the things should be developed, uh, should be fully understood by direct knowledge? What are things we should understand by direct knowledge? Answer is the five aggregates of clinging or affected by clinging. We understand five aggregates with direct knowledge, means direct awareness, direct experience. This is what is called uh, Sandittika. This is what is called Akalika. This is what is called Ehipasika. This is what is called Opanayika. This is what is called Pachatang Vedsabhavinyui. Six qualities of the Dhamma. What are they? First one is Swakhata, well expounded or well said. When Buddha explained it, we can applaud and say, well said, well said, well said, because he's showed us the way so clearly, so precisely, without any confusion or mistake. He showed us the way. And therefore we must say, well said, well done. And that is Swakhata. So, Sandittika, see in this very life, here and now. Actually, friends, you don't have to wait for hours, days, months, years to see the results of what you are doing. Sometimes when you apply for a job, you have to wait for sometimes to see the results. You have to work very hard, at least for 2 weeks to get your pay. Or you when you plant something, you have to wait for sometimes to see the fruit. This is not like that. This you will experience them as you are doing it. And that's the dependent origination formula. In the dependent origination formula, we repeated, when this is, this is. When this arises, this arises. When this is not, this is not. When this passes away, this passes away. So, uh, five aggregate, as you are paying attention to it, gaining this type of concentration with mindfulness, then you will see what happened to the five aggregate. As your mindfulness and concentration develops, grows, matures, clear, you see the results right there, exactly that moment. You don't have to wait for another moment. So this is what is called direct knowledge. The, what thing should be fully understood by direct knowledge? Direct knowledge, not indirect knowledge, not through an agent, not through books, not through somebody, but direct knowledge. Direct knowledge. Uh, with the direct knowledge, we see the five aggregates exactly as they are. Then, what thing should be abandoned by direct knowledge? I think this is a very important thing. What should be abandoned by direct knowledge? What is that? Ignorance and craving. Ignorance and craving. As ignorance arises, craving arises. As craving arises, ignorance arises. These two are almost inseparable. That is why in dependent origination, Buddha mentioned ignorance at the root. In Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the first sermon, he mentioned craving as a root of suffering. Ignorance is root of suffering in dependent origination. Craving is the root of suffering in Dhammacakkappavattana, first sermon. Why is that? Both are equally important. Both are equally important. When ignorance disappears, craving disappears, greed disappears. When greed disappears, ignorance disappears. The dependent, what you call the formula of dependent origination. When this disappears, this disappears. When this arises, this arises. Remember my talk, this course of this series of little talks are on dependent origination. You can see that happening all the time. Then next is, what thing should be developed by direct knowledge? What should be developed through direct knowledge? Directly seeing, what should be developed? Insight and concentration, serenity and insight, samatha vipassana, samatha vipassana. From our own personal experience, friends, we can see how we gain concentration, how we can gain insight. There is no confusion, friends. As we directly practice, sincerely practice, consistently practice, we can see this result right here and now in our own life. Pacchatang vetabbo vinyuhi. With wise individuals, this can be seen by wise individuals. This wisdom doesn't come from outside. Wisdom also is developing through the practice. As we practice, wisdom increases. What is the wisdom? Rising and falling, appearing and disappearing of all conditioned things. Appearing, altering, disappearing. Seeing this exactly as they are is called wisdom. Wisdom. And to see them as they really are, we have to have both serenity and insight, concentration and mindfulness. And then lastly, Buddha said, and what thing should be realized by direct knowledge? What should be realized by direct knowledge? That is true knowledge and deliverance. True knowledge and deliverance. Liberation, freeing from suffering. And that we will see very clearly in our practice. I will continue this talk tomorrow and starting at 10:30 like today, not at 9:50, but 10:30. And first we meditate and then at 10:30 we finish meditation and 10:30 start the talk. Now let us make the final wish again. Friends, the series we started purely because of this COVID-19, knowing that there are thousands of millions of people stay home in a limited space, full of loneliness, monotony, and sort of sometimes depressed, disappointed, and so many, when all live together all the time, they have been looking forward to living together for some time. But when it happens, so many days, it becomes very, very unpalatable. some other problems can arise. And therefore, we thought of taking the opportunity, chance, advantage of this opportunity. As I mentioned yesterday, although the COVID virus does a lot of devastating things for our life, the whole world, at the same time, we can make use of that to improve our knowledge, understanding, and liberate ourselves from suffering, not only this life, not only suffering from COVID, but the suffering from samsaric existence. So with this, friends, I want to conclude and wish once again, may all those who are suffering now be free from suffering, and those who are grieving over the death of their loved ones may be free from that grief, and those who are trying to help these people in many, many different ways, not only one or two, organizations, individuals, and so on. May they all have courage, understanding, and determination, and patience, and wisdom to continue their noble work. And those who, those doctors, nurses, and so forth, may have their strength, courage, and commitment, and live in good health to continue their wonderful, noble, selfless service. And may all those others who make decisions in countries and who live in a decision-making positions in countries, and may they all make right decision with compassion, insight, understanding to help all these people. Thank you very much for coming and participating in these sessions.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Bhante.
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 Brian.
Thank you, Bhante.